Hi guys, it's time for a quick video today. I'm not sure how quick it's actually end up being. I'm actually out here filming for Beyond the Point, my history documentary YouTube channel. We're at the site of an abandoned oil refinery that was partially built in the 1970s on Canvey Island and was never completed. Today it's Canvey Wick Nature Reserve. Now I'm here at a couple of bits of the refinery that are still here. A lot of the bits have been removed at the moment, and there's fences going up, which I thought was just to fence a lot of the places off. But some of the bits right next to here are being actually taken away, some of the concrete pieces, which is a real shame because this is one of the first places I actually came to as a kid when I was getting into the whole kind of secret history, urban exploring, photography, all of that stuff, adventuring, and the love for the great outdoors. But what I wanted to show you is something that I think is absolutely awesome. Someone's come here, believe it or not, they've actually converted bits of rusted metal and bits and pieces they've found left from the refinery ruins, and have actually turned them into instruments. They've actually put them up with bits of wire. Look, they've attached little nails to bits of wire, they've threaded them all round, they've balanced pieces of metal so that they resonate on and balance on the concrete. They've got guitar strings, they've made wooden bridges for the guitars, and they've strung them over old bits of rusted metal, and you can actually play a kind of very crude bottleneck guitar on them. And I think that's really awesome. I don't know, maybe someone did this as an art project, perhaps someone was just off their head or God knows what, who knows, but it is really cool. So let's go and take a look at the kinds of crude instruments that people have played here and made here, and maybe have a little play on them ourselves. This is the wilderness. This is literally a wasteland. It's a perfect mix between industry and nature. They've fenced it all off anyway with some good fencing. I don't see why they need to still remove the bits. Why can't they just leave it and let nature take it over? Let it overgrow, let it get overgrown, let it get lost in the forest until someone rediscovers it one day, maybe in a few generations' time. Just listen to the sound of all these clattering together. Now that is the sound of a wasteland. Pretty cool. It's one of the coolest things I've seen in a long while. Someone's come out here and they've made all these, and this must have taken hours. The thought, not only the practical, but the thought that they've had to put in to adapt these pieces of metal into instruments. It's incredible stuff, incredible. So the idea is that you hit these together, I suppose. They all bounce around, and then down here you've got those moving as well, and you've got some kind of music, really, some kind of soundtrack. It's music where it's just sounds being made without any kind of rhythm or melody, but it's designed to convey an atmosphere about a place or an environment. Quite chaotic, really. In music, it doesn't have to be rhythms, melodies. Why can't it be the sounds of objects themselves, the sounds of places themselves, making the noise, making the music themselves completely organically. And nature is chaos at the end of the day. Nature doesn't have necessarily a rhythm or melody. And this is the sort of music that we've got coming out of these bad boys. How cool is that? Thread on that, they've threaded a piece of wire to attach a twig. Now someone's come here and they've done all this stuff. Look at that. Just listen to the way that metal resonates. Quite a stunning sound, really. It's almost like the ruins themselves making the noise. The sound of the industrial ruins. And look at this one here. Little stone tied on. How cool is that? This thing propped up. Now if that was sitting flat on the ground, it wouldn't resonate. So what they've done, they've actually placed this little piece of metal under it to keep it off the ground, or to keep the edge off the ground. Get a piece of metal or nail, which I've left on the side, hit it, you hear the echo. Pretty cool. Or at least the effort that went into it is very cool. And look at this thing here. Not really sure what this is, but it's been placed on these two little bolts. Luckily I got my tetanus injection, I think, but resonates. Very slightly, because it's so rusty it's not going to make much of a sound. Like, look at these pieces of metal here. Metal slabs. Don't know where they found them, but somewhere here. They've actually put, look, they've carved little bridges out of wood. And they've strung guitar string to it. And that is a guitar string, because I play guitar. Now that one's not very tight, and it's rusty, but if I tension it a bit, get a sound. There we go, slightly. Once again, this thing here, get a bit of a noise. And look at the craftsmanship. This has actually been cut like a proper guitar bridge and then tied with some kind of tape at the end. I mean, that's cool. I don't know if someone did this as a kind of art project, whether they were tripping on acid when they came out here. Honestly, I have no idea. One of the two. You know, there could be all kinds of stories as to how these be created. Maybe some people just thought we'd come over here and we'll have a bit of fun, you know. Perhaps we've just got a few creative people in our midst. Something else I've found. Little bits of foil. Stainless steel, was that aluminium? I reckon that is. Aluminum, as the Americans love to call it. Never really understood that. We should change the name of this channel to Hevs's Ramblings after this. That one didn't get made into anything. We're going to try and play the slide guitar now. Last time I played the slide guitar with a penknife because I'm a badass. I'm joking. I played it with a penknife because you need a polished piece of metal to play the slide guitar, and it will create a nice slide sound like the old sort of blues and stuff on the old resonator guitars. Or if you're not into the blues, you know, bluegrass, country music also use slide. Apparently the first ever mention of the blues was W.C. Handy, an old composer. He saw a guy in America on the train playing a makeshift slide guitar, and he was playing it with a spoon, an old rusty spoon. He was a homeless man, and he was playing that on the train. And this is literally the late 19th century we're talking about. And it was just this sort of really raw music. We're literally taking it back to roots right now. So rather than using a penknife like an absolute badass this time to play the rusty slide guitar made out of a piece of abandoned oil refinery metal and wood and guitar string, I'm going to use, well, the only thing that's made out of shiny metal in my bag. I'm not trying to plug my other YouTube channel, Beyond the Point, but I've got the business cards holder in my bag and it's made out of shiny metal, so that's why I'm going to use it. It's the only thing I've got that I think we might be able to play the slide with. Right then guys, here we go. We've got the rusty old bit of metal, or the guitar, whatever you want to call it. There we go. It's quite tight. I put this little bit of wood in last time I came here to give it more tension because the original bridge, it's been very nicely carved, unfortunately doesn't provide enough tension on the strings where they've rusted and stretched, so we're going to use this bit of old rotten wood. So there we go, it's nice and taut. Don't know if you can hear that. If you can't, there you go. That's it without any slide, so let's try it with the slide. There we go, it's working hard. I mean, it doesn't resonate, obviously it's not really got a body of any kind to make the sound louder, so it's going to be very quiet. So it works. I don't know if you can hear that. The microphones are not very good on the camera I'm using, unfortunately, but it works, you know. And yeah, it's a really weird old feeling playing it, I won't lie. I feel so kind of immersed in the environment. I'm literally communicating with the ruins around me. Metaphorical, of course, not literally. I'm not one of these people that actually thinks they're going to be speaking to pieces of metal, but what I mean is, you know, this is the sound of these things, you know, and it's very rarely do you ever find yourself in a situation like this where you can actually literally play the abandoned place that you're in and listen to it back to you. So I think that's really cool. So let's get a bit nearer. We can do a bit of a little blues thing here. Shall I have a go at singing even? I don't know. Whoops. I woke up this morning with mystery blues. Said I woke up this morning with mystery blues. Said I looked over the river. Yeah, I don't know, I wasn't really sure what I was singing there, but let's have another go. What can we sing? Structure wise, it's literally just the same structure with different lyrics for every different song. So let's try and make something up. How about I woke up this morning, had them industrial blues. Said I woke up this morning, had them industrial blues. I looked over the river. I couldn't find no way to cut loose. That's good. Let's try that. Woke up this morning, had them industrial blues. Said I woke up this morning with them industrial blues. Said I looked over the river, couldn't see no way to cut loose. I'm loving it, jamming out here amongst the wilderness. Not every day you get to do this. It's good for the soul doing this stuff, you know. Sometimes in this day and age, out in the middle of God knows where we are, that's what you need. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people don't get enough of in the 21st century. You know, it's difficult. All these places, they're getting cleaned up all the time, just like this one. It's getting neatened up, it's getting footpathed off. Getting cordoned off. There's not many places left that you can actually come to like this to discover and interact with stuff that's completely different to anything else we know in society. There's no health and safety here. There's no public facilities here. There's no, you know, it's DIY, isn't it? It's punk at its rawest. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Coolest thing I've come across, well, in a long, long while. I've never seen anyone do anything like that. Someone that kind of gets what these places are all about, more than me. I wouldn't think to do that. I mean, you've got to be a bit of a nutter to make these instruments out here. But fair play to them, because it's bloody cool. Gonna put this back now. Put it away for someone else to discover. We're gonna take the bridge out so the strings don't get stretched. If someone else wants to come back and play them. Where we are today on Canvey Island, it's all about the blues. It's where Dr. Feelgood and a few other blues and rhythm and blues artists started up in the 70s, playing the old school 50s, 40s, 50s type of blues music, and from the 60s, and they were souping it up as it came into the punk era, and that all happened on Canvey Island. But if they came out to here and found these instruments, you know, Lee Brillo, he'd be getting his harp out, he'd be having a go on this bad boy. Wilco, he'd be having a go on these little instruments here, because Canvey, it's got that kind of wasteland, that kind of old swampy vibe, I suppose. I don't know what else to call it. That kind of rejected smokiness to it. Over the water there, we've got Corrigan Oil Refinery, similar to what would have been here if it ever got finished construction. You can see the chimney off in the distance, and that chimney and the smokestack that used to be next to it used to burn all the time. Even when I was a kid, it's not actually refining oil anymore. Dr. Feelgood, they used to say that was their homecoming signal. As they were driving home from being on tour, they'd see that light shining in the distance and they'd know they were nearly home. And that's why they called the area Oil City, because it had an atmosphere of some kind of end of the line kind of old American shanty town, blues town kind of feel. And I totally get that. You know, you might not see it at first coming to Canvey Island or the surrounding area, but once you've been to the right places such as this, you know, it's great. And I love the blues, in case you haven't already guessed. I love that kind of music. It's so humble and down to earth. It's just the people, their instruments, and their emotions. Tell you what would be really cool about this place. One day, if it's still around soon, in a year or so, I'd love to come down here with proper instruments, bring the guitars down here, bring a mate who plays some music as well, do a bit of a jam session, maybe have a few beers and just really soak up the atmosphere for this place, and maybe play some actual music alongside some of the instruments that are left here made for us. So yeah, that'd be really cool to do, I reckon. Right guys, cheers for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I don't know if you understand what the hell I'm going on about in this one or not, but hopefully you get why it's good. It's just a really cool, unusual, interesting, one-of-a-kind kind of place. I mean, they've literally built a music studio in the middle of an abandoned oil refinery. How cool is that? Excellent. I've loved coming here. It's been nice just to spend some time on my own. It's been really good to get out here and play the instruments before this place maybe gets demolished, which will be a crying shame. Unfortunately, it's too late for some of the parts of this place, and it really is sad because this is where I grew up, discovering my love of adventure as a kid. People might say we're an abandoned oil refinery, just a bit of old industrial rubbish that obviously is shut down for the right reasons. What's the point of preserving it? It's part of our history, like it or lump it. Should we erase all traces of the past that we don't like? I don't think so. I think we should leave bits of the refinery here as they are, as a reminder for people to realise, you know, when the kids are coming here, they're going to be asking their parents what all these little objects, what all these lumps of concrete all about, who put them here and stuff. And you know, if they're not here, no one's going to know. But if they are here, people might look into it and then understand that Canvey Island nearly became an oil refining town, and it luckily didn't. A lot of people campaigned for a long time to make sure that no refining did happen on Canvey. And Wilco Johnson himself, before he was in Dr. Feelgood, he actually was involved in those protests. And we're not going to know that struggle if we erase parts of the history. Companies like the RSPB and stuff, they do a good job of preserving our wild spots, and that's great, but unfortunately it is a business. It's a business that gets an awful lot of money donated to it, rather than complementing the character of an area and its history and the historical remains that are often on their land. They unfortunately just erase it and turn it into often quite a generic place that's very similar to a lot of their other nature reserves. Now this place is so unique, I'm not sure that will happen, but they are trying to sterilise it by getting rid of the interesting bits. Over at Raynham Marshes, there's an RSPB nature reserve over there. It was a Ministry of Defence site at the early turn of the 20th century, and sadly, when they came in and built their nature reserve there, they demolished an awful lot of the buildings, the magazines and bits like that, that are, you know, 100 years old or more. Why can't you just fence somewhere off? Why do you have to knock it down? Because after all, the whole point of these companies like the RSPB is to preserve our natural spaces and to make sure our wilderness does not get destroyed for future. So why don't you just leave it? Why don't you just leave all the bits of history in it? Keep the character of the place rather than erasing it from memory. Because when you erase something historical from reality, over time it also gets erased from memory. We need memorials, objects left over for us to remember the past. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed watching me play a few of these instruments, if you want to call them that. Hats off to the person that made these instruments out here. That is incredibly cool. A little bit weird, but fair play, because I've absolutely loved it. It's a one-of-a-kind little place. You know, hopefully it doesn't get knocked down. And thanks for watching, guys. Please stay tuned for all the adventures in the future. Subscribe, all the rest of it. So thanks a lot, guys. See you later.